Hello, this is Bronwyn Aly, local food systems and small farms educator for University of Illinois, and I'm bringing you another weekly update on local food happenings at the Dixon Springs Ag Center. For this week, I'm basically going to talk a little bit about some pest management, cultural practice type things that we can do in our tunnels, and also just give you a quick overview of where our tomato plantings, what our tomatoes look like currently. Our weather here is continuing to be extremely hot and muggy, and we're waiting for a cool-off period. So with that, we will show you a few things that have happened or that we want to talk about, show you for the rest of this video this week. Looking at the tomatoes in our in-ground raised beds this week, we have harvested today, and our pick today was definitely a lot less than it was last week. I think we reached our peak harvest last week, and things are starting to fall off a little bit, but judging by the amount of green fruit sizing in the tops of the plants, I would guess we will probably have another big flush later in the season. One of the things I wanted to point out about some sanitation practices and some cultural things that we can do to help eliminate potential pests is, as you look down the row, you see some fruit that is laying on the bed beside the tomato plants. This was either diseased fruit or maybe fruit that has fallen off, may have worm damage or some other issue, and we don't want to leave that fruit laying on the ground, whether you're out in the field or here in a tunnel, because this is just going to draw unwanted insect pests, and those are going to start to rot and then build up disease problems, and just draw unwanted pests and things as they start to rot down. And if we look down the row here, we've got Julie coming through, and after we've harvested, she's going through these rows and picking up all of the rotten fruit or fruit that has fallen off the plant. Another major pest that can be a problem is spotted wing Drosophila, and while we have not seen any yet this season on site, we don't want to create any types of situations that would draw them in, and so open rotting tomato fruit would definitely draw in spotted wing Drosophila, so we want to get that picked up and out of here, because we definitely do not want to have that pest coming into the tunnel any earlier than it may already come in naturally. I also wanted to show you what mouse feeding looks like in Poblano peppers. And you can see on this one plant, the mice, I'm assuming there's more than one, at least one mouse has been feeding. You can see the hole there, and they throw those seeds out, but there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 peppers. Actually, there's a 5th one. You can see they have really ravaged this section of our row that was planted in Poblano peppers, just going through and feeding on lots of them. And the reason that I know that it is a mouse is because we have had this situation in the past, and we actually put up a trail cam within the plant and captured a picture of a mouse feeding on the pepper, and so that's why we recognize the pattern of the feeding on the pepper and attribute it to the mice. What's interesting is they are only feeding on the Poblano peppers. Just past the Poblano plot is a section in jalapenos, and back this way we have banana peppers and bell peppers. And those have no feeding damage whatsoever. So the mice really like this Poblano pepper. In our hydroponic cucumbers, we have been battling some thrips and spider mite issues, and we finally have those numbers back under control, and just wanted to show a difference in how much better the foliage and the new growth is looking on this planting now that the insect numbers are down and the damage is not as significant. As a reminder, a lot of the leaves looked very similar to this one. You see the yellowing and the brown spots. We can attribute that to insect pressure, whether it be spider mites and or thrips. But as you see, as we move up the plant, the new foliage is looking really good, and we don't see nearly the injury symptoms on the foliage, and the quality of our fruit has definitely improved. We were seeing quite a bit of fruit damage from the thrips feeding, and that is looking a lot better. We were seeing it particularly on the beta alpha varieties that are more soft skinned. We saw lots of injury on that. Also, another thing to note, now that we've kind of cleaned up the insect pressure in here, the plants themselves are starting to set fruit more uniformly again, and it coming on in a better growth pattern than it was when they were suffering from the insect pressure. You know, we look at this particular plant. This variety is Corinthos, but you can see we've got, you know, a fruit setting at every node, and we're seeing not seeing blown flowers or yellowing fruit as we move up. And so this is what we like to see on this. Definitely improved production moving forward. This plant is another example of the bottom leaves having that insect feeding damage, but as we move up, we've been able to clear that up, these newer leaves have less damage on them. We have not completely eradicated the insects. We still see quite a bit of thrips pressure. If we look on this, let's try to focus this. Yeah, it's not going to focus, but there are enough thrips moving on this flower that you can just see them with the bare eye. I don't know if you can see the little darker brownish orange body skirting around there, but they're definitely on there. So anyway, just wanted to give you an update on what our hydroponic cucumbers are looking like, and again, a reminder of the importance of scouting early for insect and disease pests, making sure that you correctly identify them, and getting products on that can control them before their numbers get too big and becomes populations are just too high to get under control. You know, we do have limited pesticide options in tunnels and greenhouses, and so we want to make sure we're using the chemicals that we do have available, whether they are OMRI approved or any other pesticides. We want to make sure that we're using them judiciously and hopefully get the timing right so that we can maximize their impact on our pest populations.